continue to rise as 3 more persons die on admission, bringing the death toll from both crashes to 22. In the central region, 3 persons died in gory accident at Sienchem on the Asin Nyankumasi Road while on their way to a funeral. In the eastern region, 2 grand bed vehicles collided head-on after a bus from Accra overtook a vehicle at the Achim Asafo junction on the Accra-Kumasi highway without observing traffic from the opposite direction. In an initial number of 16, people died on the spot, including a 3-year-old boy. Here's an eyewitness with details of the incident.
Yes, a trailer bina, a pretty empty. Master is also and on the boom.
It was head-on. Both vehicles were overtaken. I only had a cloth around my body when it happened, so I rushed to wear a dress and returned to assist the policeman to carry out the victims. I could count up to 5 people whose heads were severed. They were then carried to the Koforidua and Chibi hospitals.
So that's an eyewitness in that incident at the Achim Asafo junction on the Accra-Kumasi highway. Now I'll take you to the central region to Adum FM regional correspondent Alfred Amo for more on that accident in the central region on the Sienchem. That's the Asin Nyankumasi Road. Now, Alfred, give us details about this particular accident. What more do we know?
Right, Emefa, the vehicle involved in the accident is with registration number AS9520-18, and it was carrying people from Asin Nyankumasi to a village called Misrenyame. They were attending a funeral of a Pamwan Tapa who was a resident of Asin Nyankumasi and has died. So although there's a restriction on funeral, but they feel that the person was in the community with them. So today is when they are going to bury him. So they decided to go. So this particular truck was carrying about 30 people. So when the accident happened, 3 of them died on the spot, and the rest were sent to St. Francis Xavier Hospital for treatment. As I speak, I'm at the hospital, and some of the injured persons have been discharged, whilst others are still here receiving treatment. So the funeral of the person of whom they were attending his funeral, I think he has been buried. But still, you see people who were preparing to attend the funeral. They are all here checking up on their people who were got injured and all that. So I have a gentleman here. He was part of those who were injured and brought here. Let's speak to him. Unia, at the end is he and Kasana Mokwahi. Yeah, I didn't see. But not accident. Didn't see. Munana mo. Didn't see.
Oh, kofo prepare was
no can
can no ko de okoba no di emeka. No di emeka. Di emeka no oko nti maybe why oko no emeka wo. So emeka wo nti udu zio no so no so nya da nya botre na oko. Na so maybe o transfer na oko a wanya kwan ya de akọ America.
Munim sisi yenye ntade nti nimpa bebre sa na mo tika bucket mu amokọ yi.
Eyi no me omso mo twa so atike nti na ono papa no ho odo so yes yakwa na mo a maybe na also nti nye ibadodo ni nyina na omu nyina akoda eyi no na bi twam.
Okay, so that's my colleague Alfred there's interacting with an eyewitness on that accident at the central region, and so he's been telling us about what actually occurred leading to that accident, and from what he tells us, it appears that the driver was speeding. He's unable to tell at what rate though, but what he tells us is that there was some form of speeding that led to that particular accident. But Alfred, thanks for that interaction with that eyewitness, but I want you to describe to us this particular stretch of road and what it is like, because I would want to find out if it's a single carriageway, because he was talking about insure, which is some water or so. What exactly is the nature of that stretch? Hello, Alfred.
Yeah, hello, Emefa.
Okay, so I'm asking if you could describe to us the nature of that particular stretch.
Well, the stretch is an untarred road, and in fact, the place is not an accident-prone area, but once a while, it does happen. So,
Okay.
according to the gentleman who just spoke to me, he said the ambulance was ahead of them, and then there was one motorbike which was also ahead of them, and because the place was untarred, you see, when they were ahead, we could not see because of the dust and all that. The driver decided to overtake the ambulance and then the other motorbikes.
Okay.
So in the process, the vehicle veered off the road and the accident just occurred.
Okay.
So
and just so we are clear, before I let you off briefly, Alfred, the death toll, you say, remains at how many for this particular accident at the Central Region?
Yeah,
I'm asking how many people exactly lost their lives in this particular accident.
well, in fact, on the spot, 3 people died and about 20 persons were also brought to St. Francis Xavier Hospital. As I speak, some of them have been discharged and others are still here receiving treatment.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. That's Alfred Amu. He's a correspondent for our sister station, Adom FM. Now, from the Central Region, I'll take you to the Eastern Region, where correspondent Maxwell Kudeko has been following up on this incident at the Achim Asafo. That's that accident that occurred there. And currently, we're told that the death toll has risen. This afternoon, when we're speaking, we talked about 16 lives that were lost. And now we're hearing about this particular accident also in the Central Region. I'll take you live there shortly, but listen to Mr. Adakabre Frimpong Manso. He's the managing director of VIP John, owners of one of the buses involved in the accident. I spoke to him earlier.
Upon reaching a section of the Accra Kumasi Highway, Chim Asafo, the driver encountered another Kia Grumbird bus that was heading towards Kumasi that had undertaken, as the police report would put it, a wrongful overtaking. In an attempt to avoid a head-on collision, the VIP bus veered off the road onto the hard shoulder and completely off the road. But the oncoming Kia bus that had undertaken the wrongful overtaking could not anticipate the actions of the VIP John driver. So he also moved off the road, and in the resultant collision, the two buses crashed.
So that's Mr. Adakabre Frimpong. So thankfully he joins us back on the line, because the last time we spoke, we were told that he was on his way to the accident scene himself. Mr. Adakabre, so bring us up to speed on what exactly you were able to find out once you got to the scene of this particular incident.
Right. Thank you so much, Emefa. I've been to the accident scene, and it is particularly disappointing that such an accident could occur in that spot, resulting in a high number of deaths. That particular spot, the contractor had widened the road because it's a bend up to, say, 45 degrees, and the bend that has been widened could take up to 4 separate vehicles. That is about 2 carriageways with 2 going, 2 coming, and has put a big reservation in the middle of the widened section. But then one cannot tell why the Grumbird from Accra was undertaking that wrongful overtaking at that stretch. So the VIP from Kumasi towards Accra incidentally could not avoid the accident as he went off the road, and the accident, as I said earlier, occurred. 16 persons were taken to Suhum Government Hospital mortuary, and I've been there and I've seen all the bodies, and incidentally the 17th person had also been brought from the ward to the mortuary. So I have inspected 17 bodies at the Suhum Government Hospital mortuary. I could not see any head that has been severed from the main body. So quite inaccurate for anybody to suggest as an eyewitness that heads have been severed. I've been to the mortuary and I've seen 17 so far. And the mortuary attendants have also confirmed, incidentally, some of them had their clothing on, and we could take monies in their pocket. For instance, the VIP driver's mate had up to 680 cedis on him, and the VIP driver had up to 1,000 CDs on him. In my presence, we took that money, and the driver of the other bus and his driver's mate were also there, and they were being in a state of decomposition on the basis that families had not come near. So as I went in there, then I paid some monies and then asked the police to instruct the mortuary attendants to begin to prepare some of the bodies ahead of families having to contact them.
Okay, but
So
let's talk about the survivors. Since you've been to the hospital, I'm sure you've been checking on those who survived this incident. What exactly is their state, you'd say?
There are 10 persons who are also on admission at the hospital who are survivors, and there are 4 at St. Margaret's at UCM, and an unknown number to me now at the Koforidua Central Hospital. So as present, I'm on my way to the Koforidua Central Hospital to also ascertain how many persons are there.
We're grateful, but earlier you mentioned to us that the survivors were being transported back to Accra, some of them. Where are we with that?
Yes, we transported those who were not injured to Accra, and they have arrived safely. And then we have the injured and the dead, their belongings presently in the custody of the MTTD at Achem Asafo.
Ms. Adakabre from Poman, so we're indeed grateful for your time. That's the managing director of VIP John, owners of one of the buses involved in the accident, like he's been saying, as he personally inspected 17 bodies. We're still hoping to reach the police, the Eastern Regional MTTD Commander, Chief Superintendent Stephen Ahiatafo, on this particular incident. He had agreed to speak to us earlier, but for obvious reasons, I'm sure that he's caught up in something else. But this is a developing story. Let's bring in the director, Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority, David Osafo Adonting. We are grateful for your time here on Top Stories. On a Friday like this, did I lose Mr. Osafo Adonting? We'll try again and see if I have Mr. Osafo Adonting on the line. Hello, Mr. Osafo Adonting. Hello, Mr. Osafo Adonting. It appears that I don't have Mr. David Osafo Adonting just yet on the phone, but this is the situation where we are. 2 accidents. Some have already described the day as a bloody Friday. 2 accidents on our roads, and one in the central region and one in the eastern region. In total, we are told that 22 lives have been lost, and some more currently receiving attention at the various hospitals in the country. That's central and the eastern region. And you heard Mr. Adakabre from Poman, so they're bringing us up to speed on the situation there. We keep reminding us as we go into the weekend ought to arrive alive. And tire pressure plays an important role in the road holding ability of your vehicle. You ought to stick to the recommended pressures at all times. You need to check your tires and tire pressure every day. And the weekend is not an excuse to drink and drive. And we'll be hearing from the National Road Safety Authority shortly. I'm told that there will be a statement also in that regard, and also get some clarity also on this particular incident from the Eastern Regional MTTD Commander. I must also remind you that shortly I'll take you to Parliament, where the ministerial vetting is currently underway of the Western Regional Minister Designate Kwabena Odako, and just gone by is that of the Trade and Industry Ministry, Mr. Alan Tremanting. He's been answering a number of questions bordering on the Commander Sugar Factory, especially the pulling down of some structures also at the Trade Fair Center. He's been answering some questions on that, of course, on the One District, One Factory also has come up. I'll take you back there shortly. But let's speak to Mr. David Osafo Adonting, who is the Director, Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority. If you would please lower the volume of your radio set, Mr. Osafo Adonting. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. So just in a day, I don't know what kind of briefing you are getting from the ground regarding these 2 incidents, the accidents in the central region and, of course, in the eastern region as well. If you could help us with the kind of briefing you've received.
Okay. Good evening. And I think I have listened to Mr. Adakabre. This afternoon I was with him at the crash scene. We happen to be going around doing what is required of us as an institution responsible for promoting safety in Ghana. We looked at the crash scene, the circumstances that led to the crashes. We went to the police station to commend the police officers and the people around who all supported. We have also gone to the hospitals and then talked to the attendants, the morgue. Family members are also coming in trooping in gradually, and we're directing us to where victims have been transported to Koforidua, to Suhum, to Chebi, and then some of them also critically, in their conditions so critical, so have been moved to Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Accra. We are still there around the Koforidua, Suhum area, trying to manage things for the situation to stabilize.
And from your briefing too, Mr. Cabral was telling us earlier about 17 persons, but that may not be the official numbers. Do you have any official figures in terms of the victims and those injured?
Well, so far, I left the scene, I think an hour ago with the police officers. What I can confirm is that the figure has moved to 19. It's moved to 19, and so that is what I have as the official figure for now. But if you look at the conditions of some of the victims at the hospitals, by God's grace, we're praying that the figures, if it goes up beyond 19, I will not be surprised. But we pray that it doesn't go. But let me take advantage of this opportunity to express our condolences to all the family members of the victims. I think that it is a very hard situation. The scene, the engineering on the road it's very disappointing that we had a driver of that caliber who drives a high occupancy bus, whom if it were to be in the academic field, I would have said that it's a professor, because you have moved through the ranks all the way from license B, C, D, and all the way to that license level, and you got to an intersection where the road on a highway, it is marked. The engineering is good, to the extent that I never expected that anybody of the character of such a caliber of driver would do an overtaking, wrong overtaking, and approach a vehicle close to you, and so on. So I think that it's a very unfortunate situation.
I'm sure you must have, you are now actually tired of advising drivers to drive safely on our roads. But we can't get tired of talking about it. Really, from what you've seen today and going into the weekend, maybe briefly you can tell the public what exactly our expectations are when it comes to this Arrive Alive campaign.
Yes, in fact, under the Arrive Alive campaign, which multimedia, Joy News, yourselves are championing together with us and all the other media houses, I think we've gone very far. The interactions has been very good. The stakeholder engagement, the advocacy, and then the awareness creation has gone very far. So sometimes you get disappointed when situations of this nature should occur. But we are still we're not losing hope. We are dealing with human beings. It requires that we keep on, we scale up, and we keep talking to them, especially the drivers, to minimize their speeds. Because if you look at this particular case, there was some element of high speeds or excessive speeding, which we have talked about severally. There was also an element of wrongful overtaking. And I think it's something that we have also spoken loud about in the past couple of months. What we need to go advocating for this time round under the Arrive Alive campaign is the complementary efforts from the road infrastructure itself. And here I'm talking about that dualization which we have been hitting all the time. It is the time for Ghana to dualize such particular roads, Accra to Kumasi in particular. We have done that to Nsawam. I think we should continue to Suhum and get closer to Enyinam, even if we do that this year.
Okay.
Because that is something that we must do. It's a must do.
Okay.
And so we will keep advising drivers, we'll keep advising road users. But I think the powers that be must also begin to discuss the policy and implementation of dualizing this road section, I think it will do us a lot of good.
We are grateful, Mr. David Osafo Adonting. That's the Director, Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority. I'll finally bring in the Eastern Regional MTTD Commander, Chief Superintendent Stephen Ahiatafu. We are grateful for your time, sir, here on Top Story. So you've been on the ground, I'm told. You have all the official figures and in terms of what exactly your preliminary investigations have revealed.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, and good evening to your listeners. Yes, as the speaker had mentioned, it is worrying that drivers are refusing to, listen to the series of education we've been giving them. This accident, for instance, that happened today around 1:44 a.m. could have been avoided. Because if you are overtaking in the night, you could easily visibly see the oncoming vehicle's headlamp coming. So driving in the night is at times very safe. But I'm surprised that this and the area, the road construction, even though it's a signal, but that curve has been expanded. And you can see a visible markings on the ground, which, I think it's been, very neat and clean. You can see it, that you don't overtake at that curve. It is there visibly. So drivers are very difficult people. I'm sorry to say this. This accident today was unsafe overtaking that had brought all this mishap to all of us.
Unfortunately,
so. I visited the scene myself, my regional commander. This morning we met, and then he said, okay, then I should rush to the scene. So I was at the scene with the regional road safety director and some team from Accra who met at the scene. And as I earlier said, this accident could have been avoided if drivers actually obey road traffic regulations, road markings on the road, and road traffic signs. Okay. And I wonder why drivers race against private modern vehicles without, realizing that they are carrying, they have the responsibility to carry or send families safely to their destination. So with the right speed, I don't think road crashes will be having this kind of impact.
Okay, of course, that's part of
this afternoon, when we visited the Suhun Government Hospital, as at the time I got there, 16 people that were, perished on the spot was the figure we had. But when we got there, one person had died, making it 17. So those who are on admission, as at the time I went, were 7 female and 8 male. And then Kibi Government Hospital, we had 3 male and 5 female, and 2 died at Kibi Hospital. So making it 19 deaths as at now. And then those who were sent to Asafo Health Center, all of them were treated and discharged. So that's what we have as at now. But we were able to identify the drivers for the 2 vehicles. The vehicle that was coming from Accra, that is GT 5629-18. The name of the driver, as we were told, was Opoku Asante Emmanuel, 38 years. And then the one from Kumasi, GE 5510-15. It's called Kofi George, 55 years. So far, this is what we had, and then the investigation is ongoing.
We are grateful. Thank you very much for your time. That's the Eastern Regional MTTD Commander, Chief Superintendent Stephen Ahiatafo. That's it for Top Story for tonight. Brought to you by Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready? Gasim, the nation builder, Belacqua Mineral Water. And of course, our Arrive Alive campaign is also brought to you by the National Road Safety Authority with support from Toyota Ghana, Logistics Movers, and Joy News Deep Drive Safe campaign. You ought to arrive alive. We'll be back shortly, then I'll take you to Parliament for that ministerial vetting.
Hey, I forgot my boss say in client credit on my phone. I go for use